Hello, welcome to the Clout Blue Podcast post-match reaction. I'm your host, Dan Rolinson, joined by the lovely, for the love of Paul McGrath's, Neil Dunworth. Neil, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm neither up or neither down after that game, which is a shame because I've waited a long time to watch Aston Villa, whatever it was, 12 days. And it would have been nice to have a win there today. But look, this is the way football is. I think there's a lot, like, obviously Unai is going to say it, but I think he'll mean it in this instance. There's an absolute lot of positives you can take away from that game, while there's an awful lot to work on as well.
Yeah, it's just one of those that feels a little bit frustrating. Obviously, the thing that people tend to say with an FA Cup game is anything but a replay, which I kind of agree with to an extent, but the longer the game goes on at 0-0, I'd rather replay than lose.
Yeah.
It's what I've said before. But it's obviously that extra workload and another game for the players. I think after Newcastle in midweek, obviously next Tuesday, I think we play every weekend throughout February. So it's probably a good time to have an extra game thrown in there because we're not playing in Europe yet. We're not in the Champions League or anything, of course. So if there was ever a good time to have an FA Cup replay, and it's that we're at home in the second leg as well, I actually back Villa to get through and do the job at home in the replay. So I actually think it can be a pretty decent result. Chelsea are good at Stamford Bridge. We said we did a combined 11 in the week, and Chelsea have become a bit of a meme, haven't they, online at their mid-table, and they spent £1 billion to look at the state of their squad. I do think some of those players will come good, and at Stamford Bridge specifically, they've been pretty decent. So to go there, I wasn't really expecting Villa to blow them away or anything, just because we're 4th and they're 10th or whatever it is in the Premier League. I did think we'd win. I think we got enough to beat them, but it's one of those games that you come out of it and think we could have lost that one, and we created chances and could have won it. So that's a draw is probably a fair result, then, isn't it? No.
Oh, draw was a fair. Like I just said to you there off camera that if that could have been a 2-2 today. But the realist, like, the 2-2 wouldn't have been a fair scoreline. I think 0-0 was probably a fair scoreline. I thought both teams were inefficient. I thought both teams were ineffectual for parts of the game. For two different reasons. I think Villa were knocking off rust, and I think Chelsea were looked like a team that had played 3 days ago. So I think there's lots of swings and roundabouts with regards to this game. You mentioned about Chelsea being at home in Stamford Bridge. Like, not even being at home, it's in the last, what is it, they've won 5 out of the last 6 games, with the only loss being an anomaly against Middlesbrough. And now this means that they won't have lost in 6 of their last 7. So Chelsea are a team that are getting it together, so they're in a false position. Like, look, just the money they've spent and everything. This is the year you got to catch them. This is the year you got to make sure that they don't get into Europe again and have them spend that money, because in 2-3 years' time, again, they will be back in Europe, and we will be, if we don't capitalize on it this season, between themselves or Newcastle or Manchester United, well, then I'm not going to say we don't have ourselves to blame, but it'll be a missed opportunity, I think. And while it's no means a foregone conclusion that we actually do get into the Champions League this year, this is the year. What I'm saying, this is the year to do it for the teams that are kind of a bit down in their luck.
Yeah, it's interesting how you kind of assess when they've played more recently than you have. That you kind of think, well, maybe Villa are fresher and we'll be more ready to go with a 12-day break, I think it is. And the irony of we're not having a 0-0 in Premier League or English football management, then getting 2 in 2 weeks is pretty funny, isn't it? I suppose. I thought maybe it goes the other way, that Chelsea maybe look a little bit tired from Tuesday, even though they walked through Middlesbrough and became a training game in the end. You do just think, well, they've played more recently, there must be more fatigue. There's Colwill pulls out, doesn't he, before kick-off tonight. Maybe that goes in our favour, but these things don't always work like that. And it, like you say, it looked, rather than Villa looking fresh because they'd not played for 12 days, Villa looks rusty. Villa look like they haven't got going yet, and that's a little bit disappointing. And I hope that we've got that out of our system for Tuesday, really. But I don't want to play like that again, because I didn't think we played well. Like, yes, we created chances and could have scored and probably should have scored. But overall, we didn't play great, in my opinion. And I think against better sides, like, for example, again, we could talk about Chelsea being a bit of a meme. If they've got a clinical forward that isn't called Cole Palmer, if they've got somebody else, if they've got an out-and-out number 9 up there, I think they beat us tonight.
If we've got somebody at the back post that can head the ball, that isn't
Yeah,
called Joey
yeah.
Tielemans, we
I
score
know.
as well tonight. So look, I suppose realistically speaking, there Cole Palmer is their top scorer.
Mm,
And I think I think he will end up most likely in a striker's position. He was a striker for Man City. He was moved out to the wings. Anyway, we won't get into a Cole Palmer conversation there, but yeah, look, it's I didn't think Chelsea were great shakes today. I thought we were able to move them out wide whenever we needed to. I thought we were able to push them out into wider areas. Like we had three good chances. They had three good chances, and I think the rest of it was what made us look a lot worse than we were was our midfield were on their heels an awful lot, and the reason for that was Conor Gallagher's runs off the ball were just
mm,
super in the first half. He absolutely bamboozled Luis and Boubacar Kamara. I tweeted it at halftime, and I said, or just before halftime, I said they got to get in. They got to talk to somebody about this because it's Gallagher that's moving them around the place and moving them left,
mm,
making them more lateral than they needed to be. And then when that happens, obviously that they just force fed Madueke that ball on the right hand side and then switch the ball to Sterling when they needed to. And I thought both our fullbacks had good battles with Sterling and with Madueke, but um, like realistically speaking, I didn't feel too threatened by them, even though they had 71 or 2% of the possession through the first half. I just felt that we looked worse than we actually were. We were compact. Our defensive structure was good. I even likened it to when Unai Emery first came into the club. We used to get into our shell and we used to be compact and
mm.
defend and not
Yeah.
concede. And that's the positive I think that Unai Emery is going to take out of tonight. That okay, we showed we can do that again because we haven't been very good at being compact this season. We really haven't. Yes, we've been expansive when we score goals, but when we needed to retire into our shell and be compact, we haven't been able to do it to great effect. And even against a lot lesser teams than Chelsea, we haven't been able to do it. So,
Mm,
the shape work, I think, like Chelsea looked like a team that just worked on shape work and pressing for this game and said, right, let's see how this goes. And we look like a team that were really working on our defensive shape work over the last couple of days because Unai hasn't been happy on it. Now he needs to marry that conservative defensiveness with that expansiveness that we had at the start of the season and see if we can get a tune out of that because nil-alls will become our friend over the course of the next few weeks and especially away from home, picking up
It's
points against
finding that balance, isn't it? Yeah, there's a comment here from Liam Meredith who says we did play well in the last 20 minutes, and I agree. We
brilliant.
grew into the game in the latter stages of like even in the first half as well. I don't want to come across that we played badly or we're not good enough or anything. There were moments, like I said at the very top of the show. The draw is the right result. Chelsea had moments. We had moments. Neither of us could really get it over the line. And like I say, I think a replay benefits us as much as you kind of talk about fixture congestion and stuff. We play once a week throughout February, so having a midweek FA Cup round is standard. Like that's just like having a European game to contend with. Like we can do that. We can manage it.
Yeah.
Kelvin says, to be fair, winning 3 consecutive times at Stamford Bridge was always unlikely. I'm happy with the draw. Yeah, me too. In the end. Noel says, I won't pronounce your last name because I will butcher it, I'm sure. Is it an
Connaughton.
Irish name? Is it an Irish name? Yeah,
No,
it looks
Connaughton.
Noel Connaughton says, good night, gentlemen. Good evening, gentlemen. Will Ollie Watkins ever score or assist again? I suppose it's a tongue-in-cheek question, a tongue-in-cheek answer. Yes, he will at some point. But I do understand the frustrations. Now, I am a big Ollie Watkins fan. We've done videos specifically on the channel about him, why he's an elite striker, why he's only behind Erling Haaland, all these things that we've said about him before. Neil's visuals and microphone has disappeared, so I'll waffle on for a little bit longer. But there he is. But I do understand the concerns or the frustrations. But this is the player that Ollie Watkins is, isn't it? He's streaky. He will score 4 goals in 5 or 6 games and then score none in the same amount of games. And over the course of a season, he's scored 20 in 40 in all competitions or whatever it is. And that is probably just about good enough for where we are at the moment. If if goals are coming from elsewhere in the team as well, but I understand that kind of level of frustration leveled at Watkins. Maybe that we talk about his work rate and being involved and pressing from the front and whatnot. But if he doesn't score or he doesn't assist, I think it is easy sometimes to look at him and think he's not contributing. He's not really done much tonight. And specifically tonight, I agree with that. I don't think he did do a lot tonight. But generally speaking, I think there was more to Ollie Watkins' game than just output. I think he helps the team score goals elsewhere, even if he's not the one putting the ball through, putting the ball in the back of the net. But like I said, I do agree with, was it Neil? Not Neil.
Noel.
Noel.
I'm
I do
Neil.
agree with Noel's kind of frustrations, Neil, that, yes, come on, Ollie, we could do with a goal at some point now.
Well, Ollie Watkins last scored against Brentford. He scored a goal against Brentford just before Christmas, 17th of December. I suppose it feels longer. That's what,
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 weeks.
That's 5 games ago. He had 2 assists against Burnley on the 30th of December as well. So time periods between his last game when he had 2 assists and now we've played in the FA Cup against Middlesbrough and he played 21 minutes in that game and we had 90 minutes against Everton. He had 90 minutes against Everton, which is 0-0 draw, and he said 0-0 draw here as well. So that's kind of the context from it. But like last season as well, and I was big on this last season too. Like if Ollie Watkins didn't score those goals down the stretch, and this is also praising Ollie Watkins, but it's also showing how frail we can be up top. If Ollie Watkins didn't score those goals down the stretch, we would have been Wolves last season. You know, that was the difference between us and Wolves last season. They didn't have a striker that could hit the back end of a barn, and we had somebody who scored 13 down the stretch or whatever it was. You know, so it's those fine margins, and I think that's why I think the next 6 days. I'm reluctant to say Villa need to pull a rabbit out of a hat, but I think that a bit more of an attacking impetus. The more I'm seeing like Zaniolo, the more I'm like Diaby isn't firing on all cylinders, and Bailey, while he's been absolutely excellent this season, you know, Bailey, you'd hate to have him go through a lull period, and I certainly don't want him to. I think we just need somebody a small bit different. And remember at the start of the actually, you didn't say it on the podcast. Sorry. The reason I went off camera then is because I had to blow my nose before it started running down my face. And so apologies to everybody. I got a head cold since like 6 o'clock today. Between 6 o'clock and now, I've just become completely congested. So I do apologize with regards to this. But and I was just going to say what you said at the start of the podcast, but you didn't even say it. You said it to me off air about Ollie Watkins being a bit ineffectual today, and you know his work rate. And I know they're 2 completely different strikers, but man that we were linked with is Morgan Rogers. And Morgan Rogers, you look how he played the game for Middlesbrough in a 6-1 loss, and you look how Ollie Watkins played the game tonight, at times not being able to get into it at all and basically chasing shadows. Chelsea do that to centre forwards. Chelsea, to me, over the last 4 or 5 games that I've seen Chelsea play, they do that. They play around the striker and make the striker just chase shadows. And what they do is they push your midfield back and create distance between your strikers, specifically if you're only playing one up top. And I'm going to say that we did, because Diaby couldn't get into the game in broken play tonight as well. Not to say that he was bad. It's just that's why I would have said if he went out into the wing and forced one of their internal players to go out and follow him, that might have created a small bit more space. But then again, you know, I don't know. I'd like to see it, or I'd like to watch it back. But Chelsea have become super good at spacing, at creating extra space between the striker and the midfielders. Therefore, when the ball goes up to the striker, he's completely isolated. So a ball's dropping down on you, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do here? There's 3 people around me. And the cavalry is coming from back in their own box. So the ineffectualness, just specifically talking about tonight and against this team, Morgan Rogers felt it during the week. Ollie Watkins felt it, and you're going to see other strikers and other midfielders, and that's the difference. That's a different thing that Chelsea have shown over the last since Poch came in. I suppose realistically since probably Halloween, Chelsea have shown that they've done that. They've created that better. The Caicedo, Enzo, Conor Gallagher access in the middle of midfield is really good. They're not as productive as you'd like to see them. There's a lot of money spent there for sure, but they're doing this massive press really, really well, and it's creating that spacing difficulty for strikers. And basically, you're playing them out of the game, from so that they can't have that individual piece of brilliance where they take the ball down, they play somebody into it, and they take that 1-2 pass past the defense. And they're probably doing it because they've got a 39-year-old Thiago Silva back there, but it's very effective. You know, it's very effective, and it's not new within football, and it's not certainly, but it's in vogue at the moment, and we're going to see more teams do it to us more and more. as we go through the course of the rest of the season. So Villa are going to have to find a way to nullify it, I think.
Morgan Rogers just did score though, didn't he? At least
He did, but you're 6-0 down. Like what the team is going to take their foot. Every team is going to take their foot off the pedal, and I think they had a bunch of 16-year-olds on at that stage. Chelsea did so.
Yeah.
There's me denigrating Morgan Rogers, but I'm not. If you know, so I'm not anti Morgan Rogers. I'm actually very pro what he brings to what he could bring. But anyway, that's for a completely different podcast.
There is a little bit of me that thinks just shoot a little bit more. That's such a simple analysis, a simple breakdown. I feel like we try to overplay it a little bit when you think of a pop shot here. Just put somebody under pressure a little bit, try and force a mistake, if nothing else.
Use my English. Middlesbrough goal came from a pot shot. Man City goal came from a pot shot. Our goal tonight that was ruled off came from a pot shot.
Yeah.
You know, you don't shoot, you don't score. You know, fortune favors the brave. I can go through these analogies for the next 15 minutes if you want to kill out the podcast. But like, there's a reason that they're there. There's a reason. Like Man United used to score those squirty goals under Alex Ferguson the whole time. Those ones whereby they take a shot at it, go pinball scramble in the penalty area, and Van Nistelrooy poke it into the back of the net, or somebody would poke it into the back of the net. Teddy Sheringham, Man United, their comeback against Bayern Munich, both of them were pokey goals into the back of the net, so there's a place for those too in folklore, and everything doesn't need to be pretty either. And it's something I've been mentioning an awful lot on Twitter is you don't shoot, you don't score. So sometimes you just need to pepper the goals a small little bit, especially if teams are going to be playing in a lower block.
Yeah, let's talk about that ruled out offside. It wasn't offside, was it? It was given us handball in the end. I thought it was going to be offside.
It was offside too.
Was it offside as well? I didn't celebrate it at the time because I thought he looked offside, and then they're looking at the handball as well. So if it was offside, it kind of rules out my point of let's discuss whether it was handball or not. But we'll do it anyway. Did you think it was handball?
Yeah, it was handball. Yeah. It was almost textbook, like Thierry Henry versus Ireland back in the day, handball.
Do you think it was it was intentional?
Thierry Henry's was definitely intentional. This one, he was in a running motion, but yeah, he flicks the ball. Whether it was intentional or not, his hand was in a natural position, but it comes off his hand, he scores a goal from it. Them's the rules, So for me, it was definitely VR got 100% right. No qualms about it. But in real time, when I saw it, I went, geez, that's a great stroke of luck. That's what Villa, it's great to have that early in the game or whatever. And then I saw the replay, I went, yeah, that's not a goal. It's not. Yeah, it's just not a goal, for me.
I've seen it once, and I thought it just counted him so quick, and his arm was already there as he was moving, and it just hit him. I didn't think he intentionally kind of flicked it or tried to play it with his hand to keep control of it. But you're right, if an attacker controls the ball with a hand and benefits by scoring a goal, the rules are the rules. I've not got any problem with VAR and its implementation of it and the technology behind it and the way it's used. I don't like that rule specifically. I know he benefits because he scores, but he doesn't. If he's running and the ball's there, you can't see here, but if it's on his left and he touches it like the Henry thing to keep it in play, I think that's a deliberate action. If you're running and it hits your hand, you kind of think you couldn't have done anything about it anyway. So I don't like the rule specifically. It obviously is more of a frustration because we've not won tonight, whereas we could have won if that isn't ruled out. There was a lot of talk before the game, wasn't it? The VAR wasn't in operation, and Villa fans were saying, "Oh no, our high line, we might need that to be there to help us out because offsides are very tight, and it's just an error on the FA website." If it wasn't in operation tonight, I think that goal is given and we win. So that's really annoying.
The irony of it is we played a lot deeper with our line tonight. For the majority of the game, played an awful lot deeper. So VAR probably wouldn't have been an issue from that point of view. But look, as I say, VAR is here. I have no problem with VAR if it needs to be used 100 times in a game and it gets every single one of them right, and none of them are controversial. You can't have a problem with it from that point of view. But they don't. They get an awful lot wrong, and an awful lot of it is controversial. So, we will continue to talk about it, and we will continue to hope that they sort it out soon.
Yeah, and we'll continue to wipe our noses and continue
sniffing away. Excuse me for that.
It's fine, don't worry about it. I was ill for
I wipe my nose at VAR. That's what I think of it. Yeah.
A couple of comments. I will do a bit of talking to give you some time to blow your nose. From Nat Dale, he says, "Am I right that we play the replay a week on Wednesday because Chelsea play Wolves on the Sunday? I don't know for certain, but having a look through the Premier League fixture list, that would make a lot of sense. It's going to be in that week, the week of the 5th of February. So the 6th and 7th is the Tuesday and the Wednesday, which is when these games tend to be played. Villa obviously play Sheffield United on the tea time kickoff on the Saturday. So it could have been the Tuesday. But as the comment there said, Chelsea play Wolves on the Sunday lunchtime. So they can't play till Wednesday, would be my assumption, because they have to have a certain amount of time between games. So it's going to be the Wednesday at Villa Park, isn't it? I think the 7th.
It's coming to Wednesday.
Yeah. I've not seen that confirmed over there yet, but a little bit of detective work from Nat Dale and ourselves. I think that's pretty much what it will be. So yeah, Sheffield United on the weekend, then Chelsea obviously midweek, and then Man United on the Sunday. So 2 games at Villa Park back to back. Chelsea and United, win them both hopefully. The other comment I wanted to bring up very quickly was Ronan Ward. He says, "Pow, pow, pow." We miss Pau Torres hugely, don't we? I think we've said this before a couple of weeks ago, and the narrative or the situation around his injury is also very frustrating. That it feels like he's coming back and he's back in training, and he comes on against was it Burnley? I think he comes on, doesn't play again after that because he aggravates whatever his problem was with his ankle, which is notoriously a difficult injury to overcome. Ankles are very I don't know the word is flimsy, I guess, for want of a better word, a difficult thing to get over. Obviously, have the load bearing and the different weight and whatever else. You feel like he's coming back. He's back in training. He'll be back at some point. Maybe Everton. Oh no, not Everton. Oh, definitely Chelsea in the FA Cup. Still no. And then he's had another setback. Again, we don't know how long that will be for. He could be back Tuesday. He could be out for weeks. Like it's one of those. You remember the Grealish stuff when Dean Smith was there, and it's like, oh yeah, a couple of weeks, and then a couple more weeks, and you kind of think, if it's it's that bad, just tell us it's that bad, and we can get over it. Yeah. I live in hope that Alvarez might play on Tuesday, but if they already know he's not going to be out for another month, I'd rather just know that, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I suppose, look, at the end of the day, injuries are fickle. As you said in my own podcast there was a time when I'd flip a lid over reoccurrence of injuries and stuff like that. And I remember one day I listened back. I very rarely do, and for whatever reason, I listened back to a podcast I did, and I thought to myself, Jesus, this guy sounds unbelievably arrogant, or more arrogant. I'm talking about injuries that he's no idea about. All I know is I get injuries. I don't know how to cure them. And I don't know why they recur, and I don't know why they reoccur, and so on and so forth. So for me, I'm being facetious when I say that, realistically, but for me, the sport science isn't a made up game. It's not a made up game. It's highly, highly, highly scientific, highly analytical, and so on. It's to do with loadings and everything like that, and you could just be unfortunate that you do the same injury again, and there's no way of knowing. It's like I'm sure there will be in time. Like all the players that wear the bras and wear the monitors and stuff like that, you can see fatigue, but you don't know what you don't know the. How am I going to put it this way? You don't know what loadings are going through certain areas and how much fatigue are on every specific area, but you can just see overall fatigue and stuff like that. So, for me, it's frustrating. I'm also in a chat group with a lot of other podcasts of a lot of other teams, both in the football league and in the Premier League. And I just happened to throw in there because I was doing a small bit of research online just to see. And I couldn't really find much, and I just threw it in. I said, "Guys, does everybody in here feel like their team always has a significant player that has a reoccurring injury every single year?" And every podcast turned around and said, "Yep, our guy is this guy this year." Like it just was like a Christmas tree, just ding, 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 the whole way down, just lit up. And I was there. Okay, yeah. Sometimes we just feel it's ours, but the crap part about it is, like you mentioned about Dean Smith and Jack Grealish, like Jack Grealish got the name Biscuit Shins for whatever reason after that. He had a problem with his shins. Like shin splints can be incredibly sore, incredibly difficult to cure. And they don't know why it happens as such. It's just overloading. And ankle injuries, knee injuries and stuff like that, they can be an exact science to a point. but unless you start sticking probes in every fiber of every muscle, you're not going to know what's going to go. So for me, it's frustrating. It pisses me off. Excuse the language. I want Powell back out there again. He's been a real mainstay in this team. He's made us look an awful lot more threatening and an awful lot more coherent at the back. He's been a massive, massive plus point in the absence of Tyrone Mings. I also am big on Longley more than a lot of people are here, and I'm sure the comments are now going to light up telling me that Longley is poor. I'm not going to say it just because I'm not going to say it if I don't feel it. I think he's been okay, but he's not Pau Torres. He's not like, and I can admit that Longley is grand. He's not Pau Torres, and that's okay. And that's as far as I'm going to go on it, I think, really. And I hope we have Pau Torres back very, very soon. And I hope we've got Dina back very soon. I hope we've got Jacob Ramsey back very, very soon.
Yeah.
And I hope Emi Buendia comes back very soon. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have Mings back this season, but kind of goes for all our players because our squad is short on numbers, just from a quantity point of view. So that's why I'm looking forward to the next 6 days. I have a sneaky suspicion that we'll see 2 in the door, but I don't know who the second person. I think Morgan Rogers comes. I just don't know who the second person is. Not a clue.
Neil's in the know now. He's got all kinds of insider
information. In the know? I'm reading John Towley's articles. That's all I'm doing.
Of course. Yeah, John knows everything. Just quickly, we'll wrap up in a second. Neil, I don't want to read this out on air in case I'm going to get stitched over. You can see the comments, can't you? On the side.
I can.
Can you see Liam's comment about an expression? Do you know what that is? And if it is, I will ask you. And if it's rude, I will not ask you.
Yes.
You do know.
You must think,
rude?
yeah. So no, it's not. It's okay.
Can I ask it then?
What was that? Oh, why can't I remember that?
Let's have a guess at it.
Liam says Neil. What's his name? Yeah. You must think I came down the Foyle. The Foyle is a river in Antrim or Down. I can't remember which one it is. It's in the north of Ireland. But what was that show? What was that show that was on? Oh, jeepers! What was your man's name? There was a Villa fan in it. He turned out to be the right bad guy at the end. Why can't I think of that show's name? Oh my God!
What setting?
It was the cop show. It was why can't I think of it? I was addicted to it. I thought it was the best show on TV. Line of Duty. Yeah. It was one of his lines in that, and I was like, "Do you think I came down the Foyle on a bubble?" Like that was one of his lines in it. So yeah. It just means do you think I'm naive?
Yeah, that's what I was going to guess at. I don't know why it means that. So Liam said, for those that are listening, where does the expression "you must think I came down the Foyle on a bubble"? So the Foyle is a river, you say, or a lake or something.
Yeah. Do you think it came Foyle? Do you think it came down the Foyle on a bubble? It means do you think I was born yesterday? I think it's the lagging. Yeah, I think it was the same. Do you think it came? I thought it was the lagging as well. Do you think I came down the lagging on a bubble or something? I can't remember. Yeah. But that's what it is. Do you think I was born yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know why that's came up. To be honest, I don't think he mentioned anything like that. But yeah, good to know.
I'm here to dispel any phraseology from Ireland as well, because that's the service I provide.
We'll end the show there. There's still loads of things we could get stuck into, but it's almost 11 o'clock on a Friday night, and I want to get this uploaded and log off. We've got the Monday show back on Monday, of course, where we can answer any further questions about game things that have happened tonight or transfer stuff. Obviously, deadline day is one of the days next week. I'm not sure. Is it Wednesday, maybe? So if we've signed anybody, obviously we can talk about that as well.
It's Thursday, yeah.
The Thursday, okay. Dan Bardell will know all about that. I'm sure he's on Sky Sports every single day next week. I have a couple of notes. Leon Bailey coming on. I know we're going to wrap up in a sec. Leon Bailey coming on the 90th minute was strange. You could make a case from starting anyway, but why not bring him on the 60th minute or 70th or 80th even? He's gone with 3 minutes to go. One of our most informed players when we're struggling for a goal was. I don't like to question Unai Emery because who am I? But that was strange. But overall, I think a draw is a fair result. We had chances, they had chances. I think we'll beat them at Villa Park in that midweek between Sheffield United and Man United. So if we do beat them in the replay, happy days. I want to be in the next round. We'll know our opponent for the next round before the replay as well. So that'll be a little interesting. Whether there's something to kind of play for, like a big tie or an easy tie at home. You're thinking if we beat Chelsea, we've got Newport County at home in the 5th round because they beat Man United or something like that. That's never going to happen. But we'll call it a day there.
What's the score? What was the score in the City Spurs game?
City were winning 1-0.
Because that's interesting, because the draw could open up
Yeah,
for the
definitely.
FA Cup. You know, the
Yeah,
draw
yeah.
could open up.
That
We'll
finished
see.
1-0. So Spurs are out.
Spurs are
So
gone.
that's one more Premier League team gone. Obviously, there'll be a Premier League team gone from our tie as well. Hopefully, it's Chelsea.
Yeah.
Man United will get through theirs. But yeah, you're right. If you got Wolves or West Brom, one of those two. Maybe if you go into that Chelsea replay going, we know if we beat Chelsea, we've got West Brom at Villa Park or something. Like, oh, that's a bit of extra spice to the whole affair there. But yeah, we'll call it a day for this one. Like I said, we'll be back on Monday with some current Aston Villa chat. There is a podcast coming out tomorrow evening, Saturday. It's Aston Villa Confessions Part 2 with myself, Rob Warner, and Frankie Maguire. We recorded that last week. It's good fun. There's loads of different tangents, loads of different topics that we covered. We did Confessions Part 1 in the summer, so you can go and find that back on the YouTube channel or the Spotify feed if you want to get a flavour for what that idea is. But Part 2 is coming on Saturday. The Monday show is on Monday, and then we'll build up to who we play next? Newcastle, of course, on Tuesday.
Newcastle, yeah, Tuesday.
With a post-match show from Villa Park, or when we get back from Villa Park on Tuesday night as well. Neil, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for watching or listening to this one. And we'll see you tomorrow and Monday. Cheers, everyone.